So it's wonderful to see everyone this morning. Your bright, shining, radiant faces. Before I begin, I'd like to thank my teacher, Galen Roshi. Thank you for inviting me. And more importantly, thank you for shining your radiant light. It illuminates my path even when I forget it's there. So, whenever I do public speaking, I either have to, the 3 P's, pee, poop, or puke. Don't worry, you're fine. So as many of you might know, if you don't, this year all of our Dharma talks are covering the Shobo Genzo, which is translated the treasury of the true Dharma eye by a profound poetic collection of fascicles written by Eihei Dogen. He's the 13th century founder of Soto Zen in Japan and one of our most influential ancestors. And today I'm talking about his fascicle titled Komyo, which is often translated as radiant light. The word Komyo is made up of 2 characters, Ko meaning light or brightness, and Myo meaning clarity, illumination, or wisdom. At its most reductive, you could say it means the light of clarity. But like most things in the Dharma, its meaning runs much deeper than the surface. When we hear the word radiant, we might think of something visually stunning. Maybe sunlight on the water, a glow of a candle, or the shimmer in someone's eyes. But radiance has another quality. It radiates. Like heat, like stillness, like love. Oh, I just got a little emotional. It moves without effort. It touches everything without needing to be seen. And if we think about radiation, it's a form of energy that permeates, invisible yet utterly present. In this way, Komyo isn't necessarily a light that you see with your eyes. It's a light that sees you. Practically speaking, radiance is what we touch in meditation when the mind settles. It's what fills the room when someone speaks from the heart. It's what remains when we stop trying to be anything other than exactly who we are. So what does Dogen have to say about this? Well, in true Zen fashion, he begins by invoking the ancestors. He says, in a formal talk, Changsha, great master Zhaoshen of Hunan, Great Song China, said, the entire world of the 10 directions is the radiant light of the self. The entire world of the 10 directions is within the radiant light of the self. And there's not a single person, in the entire world of the 10 directions, there's not a single person that's not the self. So I'm going to read the line again. The entire world of the 10 directions is the radiant light of the self. The entire world of the 10 directions is within the radiant light of the self. And in the entire world of the 10 directions, there's not a single person that is not the self. So let's unpack this a little bit. Start with the first 2 lines. And we'll save the third one for later. I have to admit, at first, the mention of the word self kind of confused me. In our tradition, we often speak of no self, which is the teaching that there's no fixed, separate, enduring I at the center of experience. And if you begin to explore this so-called self, it's hard to pinpoint where it begins or where it ends. Perhaps we inherited our manners from our grandparents, our sense of style from our mentors, or our laugh from someone we once loved. Maybe our kindness is passed around beyond us, shared, inherited, shaped by the many lives that have touched ours. So if there's no fixed self, what does it mean when the text says the entire world of the 10 directions is the radiant light of the self? What is this self that radiates through all things? It's not the small self, the personality, the storyline, the identity we usually carry around. This radiant self is something far more spacious. It's not fixed, not separate, and not personal, yet it is also intimately yours. It is the self that is not in you, but is you, and is everything else too. You might call it Buddha nature. It's the suchness of all things, the radiant, interdependent, boundaryless reality that just is. I like to think of it as the brilliance that shines when we experience things directly without filters. Or the energy that emits from us when we're in harmony with Buddha nature, when we're not resisting life, but meeting it fully. So when Changsha says, the entire world of the 10 directions is the radiant light of the self and is within the radiant light of the self, you can really start to feel into that. It's not just all around us. It is also us. The light is not just a metaphor. It's this moment, shining. It makes me think of, it's Easter today. And if you grew up in that tradition, whenever I think about this image of Jesus resurrecting, I think of him shining brightly. And that's part of the problem, right? It's a paradox because we are interesting creatures. When we hear that this moment is the radiant light, like right now, we tend to look for some kind of sign, a shimmer, a divine confirmation that awakening is real. But in Zen, the harder you try to grasp the light, the more it disappears. And Dogen tells us about this. He cites Yunmen, and I'm so bad at some of these names. I'm sorry. Yunmen, a 39th generation descendant of the Tathagata, the world-honored one, and a latecomer in the Buddha's assembly. Once he finally ascended the teaching seat, he said to the assembly, each and every person embodies this radiant light. Yet if you try to see it, it's completely invisible. So what is he saying? Radiant light isn't something you can chase. It's not outside of you waiting to be found. It's not a thing you can grasp. If you try, I'm sorry. It's what's always been here, quietly shining beneath the grasping. And Dogen tells us another story. He says, during a royal ceremony in the Tang dynasty, Emperor Zhang held a ritual to honor the Buddha's relics. That night, a radiant light appeared in the palace, a shimmering display that left everyone in awe. The next morning, the courtiers gathered to offer congratulations, seeing it as a divine sign and good fortune. But one man, Han Yu, remained silent. Han Yu was no ordinary courtier. Though a Confucian scholar and an outspoken critic of Buddhism, he had studied Buddhist texts, and when asked why he hadn't offered congratulations, Han Yu said, I have read in the Buddhist literature that Buddha light is not blue, yellow, red, or white. What you saw must have been the light of a guardian dragon god. So the emperor then asked, what is Buddha light? And Han Yu said nothing. At first glance, Dogen seems to praise Han Yu. After all, Han Yu resisted the temptation to see spectacle as proof of realization. His silence is the teaching. He refused to define the light. But Dogen being Dogen, he flips the script. He says, Hanyu did not understand Buddhist literature. If he had the ability to see that what is blue, yellow, red, or white is not Buddha light, he should not see Buddha light as blue, yellow, red, or white. Do you know how many times I had to read that? I still don't get it. Well, I'll read it again. Hanyu did not understand Buddhist literature. If he had the ability to see that what is blue, yellow, red, or white is not Buddha light, he should not see Buddha light as blue, yellow, red, or white. I had to consult some people for this. It sounds like repetition, but it isn't. Dogen is making a subtler point. Hanyu rejected the colors, but still saw them as separate from the light. He didn't go far enough. In other words, don't mistake the glow for the source, but also don't reject the glow as if it isn't part of the source. This is Dogen Zen. It's not about turning away from form. It's about seeing through it and within it. The colors, the forms, the sensations, they're not distractions from the light. They are the light. Dogen says, bright, bright, radiant light is 100 grasses. That phrase, 100 grasses, is Dogen's way of saying the ordinary world. So everything around us, your laundry, the leaves on the ground, my endless work emails, maybe your aching back sitting in the chair, it's all radiant. And it makes sense, doesn't it? If you really stop and look, this so-called ordinary world is anything but ordinary. It radiates, sometimes in quiet, unexpected ways. Did you know that trees communicate with each other? That amazes me. They communicate through underground fungal networks. Mother trees can recognize their kin, and they can send them warnings of predators and send them nutrients. Octopus can taste through their skin, and their limbs can function independently and think independently, sensing, exploring, and knowing. And then I don't know if monarch butterflies, this is fascinating too, they migrate to a forest they've never been to. Their grandparents visited the forest a long time ago, and most of them don't even make the trip, but eventually their children's children make it, and they know exactly where they're going. They somehow remember a place they've never been. And then us. I don't know why. The calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, the oxygen in your breath, all forged in ancient stars. You are not just from the cosmos, you are the cosmos, remembering itself. And this brings us to the final line. Changsha said, in the entire world of the 10 directions, there is not a single person who is not the self. If I'm miraculous and radiant, and so is everyone else, even those I have conflict with, even those that have caused harm. And for me, that's kind of hard to stomach. Recently, I had words with my cousin's husband. They live in Indiana. As you know, deeply red state like ours. And my cousin, I love my cousins. They have been instrumental in helping my father in memory care, who lives close by to them. Yet, I brought up my concerns about the future of Medicaid because it will affect my father if it's taken away. And that sparked a conversation that escalated really quickly. And my cousin's husband launched into a diatribe of MAGA talking points, labeling me a victim and blaming transgender people for everything. And as a member of the LGBTQ plus community, I didn't take it lightly. And I set a boundary, and sadly, I cut off the relationship. That wasn't supposed to happen. So when I hear a Zen ancestor say that he too possesses Buddha nature, that he is radiant light, it's hard to believe that. Because if I take that seriously, it means that not only is my cousin's husband radiant light, so are all those that follow him in his camp, that think the same way. All those in my perception who are causing real harm. It's hard to believe that they are radiant. But Dogen says something about this. He tells us that although the Buddhist teachings were introduced in China in the 1st century, no one truly understood them for 500 years, not until Bodhidharma arrived in the 6th century. And he says, until that time, no one in China had seen or heard of the radiant light of Buddha ancestors. Who then was even aware of the radiant light itself? Even though people had been carrying the radiant light within their heads and encountering it all the time, they still did not practice it as their own eyeballs. Thus, they did not clarify the shape and function of radiant light. Because they avoided encountering the radiant light, their radiant light was missing radiant light. Although missing is itself radiant light, they were immersed in missing. Their radiant light was missing radiant light. And I think maybe something similar is happening today. Zen was introduced to the West more than 100 years ago. And my cousin, her husband, and all those who see the world the way they do, they too carry this light. They too are encountering it all the time. But they turn away from it. Or maybe they just don't know how to see it, how to live from it. Their radiant light is missing radiant light. And yet Dogen says, even that missing is radiant light. Even their delusion, they're turning away, they're forgetting. It's not outside of Buddha nature. They are immersed in missing. And still they shine. So what do we do with this? What do we do when the teachings tell us that even though those who harm us, those who deny our rights, our dignity, our existence, are still radiant? We don't have to pretend it's easy. We don't have to agree with them. We don't have to invite them over for tea. And we certainly don't have to abandon our boundaries or silence our pain. But we also don't have to cut ourselves off from our own heart. Because the moment I say they are not part of this light, I risk forgetting that this light includes everything. Even anger, even grief, even resistance. And if I forget it, do I not become like them? So maybe the practice isn't to make peace with what feels unbearable. Maybe it's simply to remain intimate with the radiant light without trying to control who it includes. To hold the pain of injustice and still know that this breath is made of light, that this body, this moment, this heartache, it's not outside of the Dharma. and neither are those in the shadows. When Dogen says that missing is itself radiant light, maybe he's saying, even the places where it's hard to love are still wrapped in love. Even the people we can't reach are still part of the story of awakening. And maybe that includes all of us. Even when we doubt, even when we close our hearts, and even when we recoil, we are still the light. So in conclusion, may we begin to see the radiance in the ordinary, in ourselves, and even when it's hardest, in those we struggle to love. Sometimes we can't see the light in others. Sometimes we forget they carry Buddha nature too. But if we stay rooted in our own light, that light radiates outward, quietly, naturally, and gives others permission to shine. When I was wrestling with my own sexuality and coming out of the closet, one of the first books, self-help books I read was Marianne Williamson, Return to Love. I love that book. But this quote has stayed with me forever. I think it's fitting for today. She says, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are we not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in all of us. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence naturally liberates others. So may we carry the light not as something we possess, but as something that we are. And may the clarity of this moment ripple outward as compassion, as courage, as the quiet presence of the way, lighting the path for everyone.